tonight. Maybe a heart or two if I've got time. Somebody's gonna get hurt before I'm through. If I'm gonna get caught up with you, I'm gonna break some promises tonight.
Hey, that's the politician's theme song, right? They don't tell you that when they're running, but things change when you get elected. It's Michael Patrick Shields, radio stations across the state of Michigan, worldwide at mibigshow.com. Would you vote for a third-party candidate? 47% of voters say they'd consider it. Oh, you thought maybe it's only, Diet Coke and Diet Pepsi? Maybe you want orange juice. Maybe third-party candidate is something that could finally have its day in the sun. Congressman Fred Upton was with us just a couple days ago. He's got the No Labels Party. They will, he says, if it's going to be Trump versus Biden, and it looks like it is, going to nominate somebody to run for the No Labels Party, and it'll be a Republican with a Democrat vice president. Would that appeal to you? I guess it depends maybe on the person. Or would you make a statement by saying, I don't like these choices, I don't want to be on this roller coaster, take that? Maybe. Dave Dulio, the Director for Civic Engagement at Oakland University in Rochester, Michigan, distinguished professor in the Political Science Department, is on our AT&T line right now. Is that very naive of me to dream that impossible dream, sir?
Naive, no. I think it's if there's any time in modern history where that could really happen, I think it's 2024. The percentage of Americans who are not at all interested in a Trump-Biden rematch is astronomical when we think about modern American politics, and it creates an opportunity for the No Labels Party or some other candidate. But the hurdles that third party or minor party candidates face are still there, but the environment might be right for them to make a run.
I sort of wish that, when the congressman told us that they're going to have a Republican be on the top of the ticket and a Democrat as the vice president, that people wouldn't even be given access to what they are if they're going to have no labels to begin with, because no one, well, I shouldn't say no one, but people will be dubious and unsatisfied with those choices, won't they?
I think they will. Some will reject the idea of a Republican at the top of that ticket out of hand, right? And I think that's another hurdle, right? We have such a polarized society right now, as you well know. The negative partisanship that's out there, right? The folks that just reject Republicans or simply reject Democrats is really high, and trying to split the difference with one or the other at the top and the other party at the VP slot. I mean, it might make a little bit of difference, but at the same time, we can talk, and I'm sure we will down the road, about how a vice presidential candidate is important, but nobody's voting for the VP, right? They're voting for the presidential candidate. They're voting for the person at the top.
Except the point will be made, if you vote for Joe Biden, you might very well be voting for the vice president.
Oh, I think that the Republican nominee will make that point abundantly clear in the general election next year, and it's a fair point. And honestly, the same thing could be said about the Republicans, right? That if it is Donald Trump, he's no spring chicken. Who he picks as a VP candidate, should he emerge from the Republican primary, will have just as much and just as much scrutiny and deservedly so.
And he might have to go to jail.
The elements in this 2024 presidential are so interesting, and just that goes without the front runner on the Republican side being under indictment, under investigation, multiple trials coming up. He very well could be running from not just in jail, but just as a convicted felon.
In the category of things that can never go unseen, how did you like seeing Marjorie Taylor Greene holding up naked pictures of Hunter Biden yesterday?
Every time I think I've seen it all when it comes to showboating and grandstanding in congressional hearings. We set a new bar. It certainly unprecedented, and I think I think we all like to think of our leaders and our institutions as sort of above the fray, and boy, did she just bring it right down into the gutter.
Congressman Mike Rogers was chair of the House Intelligence Committee, the former, and he's rumored to be thinking about moving back. There's word from Susie Avery that he's bought a house again somewhere in Michigan to run for the United States Senate. What are you hearing?
The same things you are, right? The rumblings are out there that Mike Rogers is thinking about a run for Senate, and frankly, I think there's an opportunity there, right? The fact that no big name Republican has decided to throw his or her name into that ring is an opportunity for somebody like Mike Rogers, who is not caught up in the Trump circus, if you will. He's been out of politics for a while, at least in the electoral game. And that might be an advantage, right? He can come in and not having been tainted maybe by Trump in 16 or 20, and that could really be an advantage.
It seems like that would clear the field, and there are other candidates waiting who might want to jump in to see what he's going to do. A great communicator he is, for sure. He worked in media in the meantime since he left Congress, and has that FBI background and all the rest of it. And over on the Democrat side, maybe it's not so clear who they will nominate for the Senate picture after all.
Boy, and that's a really interesting sort of flip of campaign dynamics in the last 6 or 8 months, right? When Alyssa Slotkin came out, guns a-blazing, really, and said, "I'm running for this Senate seat," as Senator Stabenow retires, and she really did clear the field. Initially, with all the big name Democrats just backing off, and yet now we have an interesting addition to that primary field in Hill Harper. Alyssa Slotkin is still the heavy favorite, right? Given her experience, given her resume, given her prolific fundraising ability. She's still the very likely Democratic nominee, but Hill Harper could make a game of it given his recognition and I would imagine access to funding sources. So it'll be interesting to see how he approaches this and what kind of run he can make at it.
Just quickly, it occurred to me that Alyssa Slotkin and Mike Rogers, should they face each other for the U.S. Senate seat, are kind of the same person, really, aren't they?
I have the same thought, Michael Patrick, and I think that's one thing I think that could make it difficult for Mike Rogers should both of them emerge from their primaries. He needs to find a way to make a contrast with Alyssa Slotkin.
Both from Brighton, both white, both have intelligence backgrounds, and both kind of near the center.